Hello and welcome to this. It is the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. I'm JB in the Rugby Dungeon with Phil. Hello, Phil.
Hello, JB.
And he has landed on the decks of the Spirit of Cocker. Tim Cocker, how are you?
Very well. Apologies, I couldn't make the first podcast. But there you go. When you're a broadcasting empire that has multiple podcasts every weekend, 52 weeks of the year for nearly 10 years, this will happen from time to time.
Yeah, well, you're not only that, you're a broadcasting icon, Tim. You sort of do yourself down there.
Well, you know. I imagine on the other episode you've already recorded, which I will listen to, like everybody else that follows and listens and supports, and thank you for that. I'm imagining that in some way, talking about the high tackle law meeting, Phil, you were basically like Antoine Dupont holding back Mac Hansen going for the try line. Was that what it was like?
It felt a little bit like it at times. There was some pretty strong feeling. Although, from both sides, I think, there was some strong feeling.
I agree.
There's a lot of nodding.
A lot of nodding, which comes across very well.
Aggressively agreeing.
Yeah. We did an hour and 20 minutes of podcasting that you would never ever let us do if you were here.
Great.
And that was the best I could do as my Anton Dupont to hold him back. JB would have gone on for 5 hours if I'd not restrained him.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even get on to Marlow.
Well, do you know what? The most recent person that signed up as a patron, patreon.com/EggChasers, Michele, said simply as his caption, as he signed up, and I think he even signed up for more than the minimum amount voluntarily, and he said,
what a legend.
He said, "Thank you for continuing to talk about the high tackle law change."
Yeah, everyone else has forgotten about it.
Yeah. We will not forget about it. And if you want to hear everything that happened in the Lancashire Council meeting,
why would you not
listen to that other pod? We go deep into one. One
genuinely, I can't wait.
Yeah, it was a very interesting meeting, I've got to say. And then the thing you love most is irrelevant chat about ADM County's level 7. Lancashire,
good.
Cheshire.
You did cover that off fine. So this podcast is just going to be about elite level rugby, the stuff you're less interested in, but you will humour me and Phil for the next little bit.
Sadly, we'll have to go through this.
Elite and the elite of the elite with the best 2 teams in the world, according to the World Rugby Rankings, playing on Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
Would you agree, let's kick off with this then, would you agree that was an instant classic game, and when Klaus Schwab next decides that we have to be shut in our house and no one can play rugby, that will be a game that we get back out again and relive?
Well, certainly the first half was mesmeric.
It's the 2 halves. So the first half is an all-time classic half. I actually think the second half is just as classic for very different reasons, but the first half was unbelievable. Just so watchable. And two teams going head to head as the best 2 teams in the world with no fear of anything.
No.
Just happy to play exactly what was in front of them at all times and run anything from anywhere, it seemed, from both sides.
And you've got to say, I think 2 of the most classic tries. Certainly, maybe 2 of the best tries in the last decade.
Well, the Pinot try is amazing. That is pushing the Van der Merwe try. So Van der Merwe in any ordinary year would just be instant try of the tournament.
Yeah.
I think that Pinot try is really pushing just because of the sheer number of hands it went through.
I also like the Finlay Beelum try. I know it wasn't his try, but you know which I'm referring
Hugo
to.
Keenan.
Because it's just so unusual.
Yeah.
And so well put. I mean, you see movements like this, don't you, from like set piece. You don't see it from open play.
And the James Lowe try, although I think he made a meal of the finish.
Yes.
And I'm not actually sure he scored it because his foot was in touch. But it was a finish.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, there are some highlights in this which will live forever. The DuPont Mac Hansen scramble.
That is so memeable as well. And there's obviously 2 halves to that equation. DuPont is as strong as a bull. He must be the strongest man pound for pound in world rugby. He's unbelievably strong. But Mac Hansen, I've got this little downer on Mac Hansen because he's kept out the obvious Ireland winger Robbie Balakoon, who is 10 times the player that Mac Hansen is. But this was just one of many examples of why Robbie Balakoon should be wearing an Ireland shirt.
Yeah, interesting on that one. I like Mac Hansen because he's busy. He's always busy.
He is busy.
He has a function,
and to be clear, Balakoon's only not in because he's injured at the moment, right?
Yes, but when he was fit and when Balakoon was playing, when he was the best winger in Europe for a period last year, when he was fit and firing and scoring tries for fun, Mac Hansen got in ahead of him then as well.
Do you know, I think
anyone uninitiated, it's important to point out that Phil is a proud Ulsterman.
Very proud.
His, rugby following, so clearly. Just on Antoine Dupont, I think it's important to make this point. It sounds obvious, but it's important to recognise what you have when you got it. And we are living in a time of one of the greatest rugby players ever.
Yes.
He's good.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
He's good. Oh, imagine that on a DuPont poster. Yeah. Quote, he's good.
Really good.
EggChasers.
C'est bon.
Yeah. All right, Wayne Barnes.
I think C'est bon is it's good, is it?
I've got no idea.
Anyway, il est good.
Who knows?
Il bon.
Il est bon. Yeah, il bon.
Well,
he is very, very good. Very, very good. I don't think this French team was actually that good, though. Or rather, they were made to look average across the course of the game.
Well, I've not seen the second half, so you need to tell me the second half. But I thought the first half, it was a compelling contest. I thought France really played into Ireland's hands the way they went about their business. Now, occasionally it worked. Most of the time it didn't. They looked scrappy. They looked inefficient with what they did, and a little bit more than a little careless.
Well, first half was 3 tries to 1 to Ireland. Second half was 1 try to 0 to Ireland. But the story of the second half, and Tim, you might have a slightly different take on this than me, but the story of the second half was Ireland just shut France down. France's almost their whole second half was 1 snap drop goal. And they did almost nothing else because they couldn't get out of their half. They couldn't clear their lines effectively because Ireland was so dominant at the collision and just so astute at their kicking. And their kicking was box kicks, grubber kicks, crossfield kicks, kicks for the corners. When Ross Byrne came on, I thought he was excellent at just controlling the game and forcing France to play out. And France weren't very good at playing out.
Yeah, I just love to pick up on a few things you've said there, Phil. First of all, I completely agree with the collision stuff. I think it felt like Sean Edwards got out-coached, actually, in terms of just aggressive defence.
Line speed.
Lin speed. Yeah, so there's that. The other thing as well is that kicking game. And, analysts spend a lot of time trying to describe to you what has happened in the game, mostly unsuccessfully. I think BT Sport or ITV or BBC or somebody should do a whole segment on the kicking game and how it is developing, because it's so much more vastly effective now than anything else. And what I love about rugby is every time you close down an avenue, they'll find something else. It's like water finds its way, and at the moment we are going through this evolution of teams kicking, but it's not the kicking game that your granddad grew up with. There is so much variety to it, so much strategy to it, and if you don't appreciate it, I think you're letting yourself down somewhat. If you're just criticising teams, they just kick it away, they're boring, you're misunderstanding what is happening in front of you. It's amazing.
Well, I'm sure we'll touch on that when it comes to England, but just to add to what Phil said about the second half, he's absolutely right in what he said, that they shut France down. I think there was 2 reasons for that. One, they were absolutely gassed from the first half. You could just see it on Gregory Aldrit's face at 50 minutes when he went off. He looked like shell-shocked. And, and when Antonio and Cyril Bay just sort of staggered off on about 55 minutes, he was just like, oh my God, these guys are absolutely out on their feet already. And then I think the story of the second half for Ireland, maybe the story of the game overall, is that no Robbie Henshaw, Johnny Sexton off after 50 minutes, no Dan Sheehan. I'm missing some other players as well.
Ty Furlong.
No Ty Furlong, thank you.
Byrne.
And then Tyke Byrne goes off during the game, and you have guys coming in that had question marks next to their name that looked at home at that level. Finlay Beelan being an example, Phil's already mentioned. You have guys coming off the bench, third or fourth choice in some positions. Casey at scrum half, for example, and they made a massive impact. And whilst Ireland have the bedrock of their team have been these slightly older guys in their in their 30s, Byrne, Furlong, Sexton. Actually, the superstars of this Ireland team now are Hugo Keenan, Caelan Doris, Gary Ringrose. They are outstanding.
Yeah,
I did like Caelan Doris' performance today. Yesterday.
Those three players were the best players on the pitch, alongside Dupont, who was incredible in a losing team. But Tim, on that point of France being gassed, I think you're exactly right. I actually saw the ball in playtime. I don't know if you've seen this, Tim. Was apparently over 46 minutes of ball in playtime, which you'll often get rugby games in the low 30s. So significantly more ball in playtime.
I think I'm right. I think I'm right in saying as well. And this echoes the point. Sorry, JB. It's just backing up what Phil said. I believe there were only 5 scrums.
Really?
I've got the stats here. There was Ireland won 4 from 4 and France won 1 from 1. So that also indicates the skill set, because you're not dropping balls when you're playing with that intensity.
Although I didn't notice a few knock-ons which weren't given, to be fair, because it was just flowing so nicely. Wayne Barnes was a little bit liberal.
Let the boys play.
Yeah, but Barnes definitely contributed to that ball in play time and just the overall feel, particularly that first half, of being an amazing spectacle. And I wouldn't change it. I'd still rather have Barnes watching, but I think reffing with me watching, particularly as a neutral. But I think he got the 2 big calls wrong.
Yeah.
The Uini Antonio shot on Robbie Herring and the James Lowe try, both of which I think he got wrong.
Yeah.
Well, in the case of the James Lowe try, he gave on-field decision try, and there was, on the footage he saw, there was nothing conclusive to overturn the decision. That there was another camera angle which only came to light apparently after the conversion had been taken, which and again, France, maybe they just had what's coming to them with the French TV directors in the past, but all I would say on that is, like, Wayne Barnes is in it added to a brilliant game. So I'm quite happy that it was one decision apiece, and Wayne Barnes was like, "Come on, let's go." There are times, however, when just taking a minute and getting the right to call is all right. Speed them up when it's scrums and lineouts. Speed them up on other times. If it's a big call, imagine this is in 9 months' time in a World Cup quarter-final, semi-final. Just take 30 seconds, make sure every camera angle has been seen, and get the right call.
So it's such a shame for it to happen to the French show.
I know. There is a bit of irony there. I did think, even with the camera angles that were available, to me it was conclusive that James Lowe's foot did touch the floor, even from the angles that were available. I'll give Wayne Barnes the benefit of the doubt. Although it did, you just mentioning World Cup quarter semis, Tim, it reminded me of the Mark Cueto no try in 2007. It was a very similar scenario.
It was very similar.
Yes,
and it's worth saying again. And I'm sure I think most people have been operating under the assumption that South Africa and Ireland are going to come out of their pool, but obviously Scotland are in it as well. So that's not a foregone conclusion, but it's worth just re-emphasising again, on the one half of the pool, on the one half of the World Cup draw, you have got South Africa, New Zealand, France, Ireland, and also Scotland, I will mention there. And yeah, this game that we saw could be a quarter-final, it could be a semi-final. Neither of those teams could make it to a World Cup final.
I mean, I guess that does just highlight the injustice that can potentially occur when you pick the pools 4 years out from the World Cup, I think it is. They picked basically the previous World Cup, aren't they? Because, well, Scotland, as we've seen, are certainly a better team at the moment than England and Wales, and yet they were ranked lower when the draw was done.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it because I'm an England fan, but it's an absolute farce, and that needs to change.
It is a bit ridiculous, yes. Yeah. Well, this game though, so the top two, and I think this was a bit of in the end, it was a bit of a beatdown by Ireland. They got 4 tries to 1. They got 5 points to 0 in terms of league points, and France, other than the chaos that happened in the first half, they hardly fired a shot, particularly in the second half. And the what was ultimately the match-winning try and the bonus point-winning try, the Gary Ringrose try from an amazing carry and then offload by Caelan Doris was just superb. And for him to leave 3 French defenders on the floor when he broke down the left wing, 2 of whom were replacements, so it should have been relatively fresh, just showed how superior the Ireland conditioning and cohesion were for them to be in that position.
I can't disagree with that. But probably bad news for Leinster though. I think this is the result where they put all their effort into it, and now Leinster will not win the European Cup.
You saying they're not going to win it all season though? So
no, sorry, actually I've got this the wrong way around. No, what I meant to say is, I'm waiting for the inevitable. Well, not inevitable. If Ireland lose badly, and they have to learn lessons from that, then Leinster will win the European Cup. Because they carry on winning, they've not had that lesson yet. It will come. It will come.
One day.
Absolutely loved the game. And, it was brilliant. And there was a lot of people, I saw quite a lot of comments there's obviously a lot of interest in Ireland in this team. And there was a load of traditional football fans. I think in terms of participation, rugby's the 4th most popular sport in Ireland. So there are a lot of people whose first sport isn't rugby who were watching that, and as you can imagine, they were thinking this is incredible.
Good. Yeah.
What a game to watch if you're a non-rugby fan.
Which is just great that England, we kept up that. Let's say, oh no, we didn't. Just one point on the way Ireland play and France to an extent. And I think Scotland do this as well. Have you noticed? I think you talked about the kicking game, and that's part of it. But I think we're going through an era where it used to be phase, batter, beat down the door and score. And I think Wales are trying to play like that, and I think England are trying to play like that. But the teams that are having most success are the ones that are, as you said at the very start, Phil, just going and actually not trying to play phases.
And something to add to that, I think Ireland did it a little bit. Scotland did it incredibly well, and we've seen New Zealand do it for years, and even South Africa did it a lot to good effect in the autumn. The crossfield kick or the kick pass, that's when it's used to good effect, and when you can narrow off the defence by setting up to go narrow, go hard, and then you've got the option for the crossfield kick, it can be absolutely devastating. And that's a real key component. But obviously, it's not just that. And Ireland didn't just use that. And they didn't just use the box kick. And they didn't just use the grubber kick, England. And they didn't just use the crossfield kick. They used it all together in an incredibly effective package.
Would you like to talk about a team which wasn't incredibly effective?
Just a couple of quick emails before we go on. Actually,
now, are there any of the emails which you've been hiding which say "I agree with JB" to start with? They don't seem to make it.
I don't believe there are any.
Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. Matt Stevens just says, "Am I the only one absolutely convinced James Lowe's foot touched the ground before grounding?"
Matt Stevens, the South African prop.
We got.
It definitely did touch. It definitely touched the ground before, and I'm certain those other angles were conclusive enough for me to not give the try.
Yeah. So you're not alone, Matt. Wiggy, contact EggChasers@gmail.com. Do you think Wayne Barnes bottled the red card because he'd already said in play that he thought the tackle was okay? I don't know how he came to it, but yeah, it should have been a red. And when the shadow of a boot and grass touch, doesn't that mean the foot is in touch? Yeah, you're probably right there. And he says, and why wasn't a forward pass checked before Ireland's first try? Well, do you know what?
That one, I agree with all the rest of the points, but that one, let the boys play.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on the red card, actually.
So, I actually think this is an angles thing as well. There's the angles that were shown in the game for Wayne Barnes. I'm probably just on red, but I was okay with the yellow. I've seen an angle since from kind of behind Herring's shoulder where it is clear that it is shoulder to head with force.
Well, what I mean by that is I'm surprised that he didn't red card him and then mitigate down. But he went yellow card because there was no force, or the force did not go through the head.
Yeah.
I've not heard that description before. Mind you, if he says red card, there's nothing to mitigate.
There's no mitigation.
There's no mitigation.
Because there's no bend. There's no sudden dip in height.
The thing is about the concussion debate, right, is...
Don't make this into a concussion debate.
No,
but,
go there.
But there is an important point here, which is the concussions and the head injuries and the dementia are not caused by these hits because they're so infrequent. They're caused by the multiple subconcussive impacts a player gets throughout the course of his career, not just one or two marginal headshots. The reason this is so controversial is because it allows people to say, you're not taking concussion seriously. I think this is a borderline one where it's a penalty or a yellow card. I think that's broadly speaking right. I don't think it makes the game safer making it into a red card.
So I'd just say I don't think I've seen the evidence either way that it's the multiple subconcussive hits or the individual headshots.
Yes, I was just going to say you open yourself up to just have someone with a contrary opinion if you make a definitive statement like the reason is this, not this. We don't know.
No, I think we do know actually. Like I think we've got loads of evidence from like the armed forces. We've got loads of evidence from people who are suffering, lots and lots of small TBIs from the world away from rugby. I do think it's fairly conclusive to say that these small incidences are what are causing the pros to have such horrific consequences. I'm pretty certain that is correct.
So I've not seen, if it is, I've not seen or heard other people put forward that argument.
You've never heard someone talk about subconcussive impacts into the chest?
Yeah,
no one's made a definitive
statement saying that is the reason. That is the reason why.
It is definitely it's multifactorial, by the way. But I think when you look at this, it's quite clear that it is the repeat hits over and over again, whether there's direct head contact or not, which is causing the majority of TBIs. Definitely.
So I'm not. Where is that? Have you got something to point to that I can read or watch or listen to?
Well,
so
I mean, look, if you just look at the evidence, it's 0.09G, right? 0.09G to get what they call a minor TBI, right? So
what's a TBI?
Traumatic brain injury, and that would be like the breaking of of a neuron, right? And they can measure this. So, like, if you jump off a table, you're talking about something like 10G. That's enough to give you a TBI. If you get hit by a rugby player, you're talking about 60G.
10G jumping off a table.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So a 100 kilo guy going for a 10K run is getting probably 7,000
box jumps.
TBIs.
Yeah,
doing 50 box jumps.
Yeah, it's all of these weird things. Now, obviously, it's all scalable. But this comes from like research around special forces, military guys, like firing machine guns over and over again.
Firing machine guns, I can believe.
Yeah.
Jumping off a table 50 times, I find hard to believe.
100% not saying jumping off tables or the very, very minor TBI, because literally that happens all of the time. It gives you an idea of what minor force that you need to suffer what they call a minor TBI. That's the absolute minimum. And then going up,
So I think we're going too deep into,
Yeah,
into
but
this.
I can bring us back a great email.
undeniable that the subconcussive hits are in rugby are probably probably the main driver.
It's undeniable they're probably...
Okay, no, they are the main driver because
Okay.
it can't be headshots. Because if we have like, how many headshots did we have in this game?
I don't know. I
One.
don't know what.
One.
There's one yellow card.
One, basically one.
This is a great email to pull us back to the rugby. Actually,
Yes.
Ollie Watson, contact eggchasers@gmail.com. He says, "Love the pod, blah. I'm sending this email after seeing the Owini Antonio tackle and the quote disgraceful decision, according to Twitter, from Wayne Barnes not to give a red card. Hardly a revelation, but it seems like if you read Twitter, every decision is 100% correct or 100% incorrect. I liked Phil's way of looking at decisions earlier in the season when he said, rather than, quote, is the decision correct or incorrect, people should ask, can you see why the ref made that decision?
Isn't that my standard?
me-
Is it understandable? That's my fucking standard.
I think
I actually think it was Phil or maybe me. But anyway,
no,
we all agree.
Just delete his email. Just delete
Okay,
it.
yeah, it was.
Move on.
Not
Not interested in what this guy's to say.
So Ollie says,
Not interested.
For me, the Antonio tackle is probably 60-40 towards a red card. But can I see why Wayne Barnes only gave yellow? Absolutely.
Don't care.
There are literally hundreds of factors that determine the result of a game, and refereeing decisions is just one of them.
Well done, Ollie.
LTBP, Ollie.
Well done, Ollie.
Well said, Ollie.
Profound.
Well
Absolutely
said.
profound. Move
So
on.
I can remember actually. It was the Harlequins Exeter game with a late try. Was it Quinn scored late on? That was the game where I was making that point. So yes, I do remember it.
Here's quite a funny email as well, which will kick us on to another game. Sam Griffiths says, I've now worked out what Wales did wrong. It's the same as what England did wrong. Not enough South Africans. How can the wealthiest union in the world not get 15 South Africans together to win the Six Nations?
And not only that, the wealthiest union from a country with a history of colonisation. Can't be that hard, can it?
Where do you want to go next?
Wales.
Yeah, chronological.
So-
Let's go to this team stacked with Saffers then. Well done, Scotland.
Well, I mean, to be honest, when I was watching this, I was taking my notes diligently, as a good podcaster should be. And when I looked at what I'd written nothing about Scotland.
Oh, really?
Nothing about Scotland.
Because I guess you're a Welshman, even though you're a Wales-hating Welshman right now.
Well, no, it's just Wales was so inept. So I'm looking at Scotland, and they are a pretty competent, slick machine. And because they're competent and slick, there's not really that much to say. They clear their rucks nicely. They run nice moves. They execute their lineouts. You don't really get much mileage out of that. They do everything pretty well. They've also got players in their team, which Wales think they have. It must be heartbreaking for George North to look up and look at someone like Van der Merwe. It reminds me, do you remember when David Cameron apparently really burned, quote unquote, Tony Blair with the "you were the future once" quote? Like, I think when George North looks at Van der Merwe, he just sees what he should have been.
Yes.
And that must be quite a difficult thing for him, because he's definitely not that anymore.
He's not that anymore. I'm not sure. So George North was amazing when he was younger.
Yes.
He was an absolute phenom. But I'm not sure he was quite what Van der Merwe is now.
I agree.
I think he is next level. I think there's very few players who were in their prime were as good as Van der Merwe. Maybe Julian Surveyor. Maybe.
Oof, I don't even think him.
Lomu was, but it was a
relative.
It was a relative thing that was a big advantage.
Rocker Thocco for a couple of years.
Yeah, even Rocker Thocco was. He was
Different sort of player, I think.
He was a different sort. He was an
Yeah,
incredible player, but he was a different sort.
Julian Surveyor for a couple of years. You're absolutely right.
Julian Surveyor is probably the only one. PSB's maybe, if he'd had a long stint on the wing, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, but he's a different level.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hard to point out what Wales do well. That's what I would say. So let's start with their attack. I think it's slow, it's ponderous, it's so shapy. So what I mean by shapy is, like, it is looking. You look at them, and it looks like what a level 7 team do in training. You know, it's a pod of 3. Watch out, one guy out the back. I mean, I know everyone's doing this, but they do it with such little charisma and style and deception that it's just so easy to read.
I agree with that. It's not that much different to what other teams are doing, but it's a lot more wooden, and telegraphed than other teams are doing. Like, I'll give you a good example from the England game, which obviously we'll go on to later. The Chesham try, where Genge, now it's slightly different, but Genge looks like he's going to pick up and go, picks up and goes, and it's just a tiny little pop. Simplest thing in the world. But it wasn't telegraphed. It was deceptive, hence why it created a try. There was almost no deception to when Wales are doing it.
Yeah, they've got no guile.
Yes.
0.
Yeah.
And when they... So, Scotland attacked, and they were quite effective. I think it came away with 3 points or some such thing. Then Wales attacked, and the difference in how those two units operated was so profound. Jack Morgan, I don't know if you remember, he got stripped by, I think, Pierre Schumann. Mm-hmm. Is it Pierre Schumann? Have I that?
Yeah.
Schumann, or however you say it. Right?
Yeah.
That was purely a process of Wales not getting over the gain line, slowing it down. Morgan's got to take the ball basically stationary, and then he gets stripped. This is what happens when you go through multiple phases of no productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also what happens when the objective is to play for enough phases that you eventually get the territory. As I said, England and Wales look and it's subtle, as you say. It's not a huge difference, but it's almost like what your intent is. Wales are trying to make a few yards, and then a few more yards, and then a few more yards. They're not trying to. There's the space. We'll have it, which is what Scotland and what Ireland are doing.
Well, it's not a setup for something else, is it? So, like, they talk about, say, like a sport like jiu-jitsu. You might try and do one thing, not because you want to do that one thing, but so they defend that one thing and you do another. You know, it's a bit of like a subtlety involved there. Ireland will be doing things to affect something else. So, you know, they will go through multiple carries, but they'll go through multiple carries because they want to get into field position to kick or something. You know, there'll be something else in it.
Ireland were doing their shape to get De Mortier up into the line, and then as soon as he was, they were kicking over behind him.
There you go. So they're doing something to manipulate things. Wales, I just can't see what the game plan is here. I don't see how they fix what they've got. It's dreadful.
Well, and they've already lurched. So if you just look at their pack, or certainly the kind of back 5 of their pack in the last 2 weeks, they've gone from the oldest pack since South Africa lost in Brighton to Japan to the youngest pack that's ever taken the field. Like, they've just lurched from, well, we'll get the golden oldies because we trust them, they've done it before. Oh no, they were terrible. Let's get all the kids in. As Cocker always said,
win everything with kids.
You'll win everything with kids. Get the kids in. And they've been hammered again.
I think this week's selection, in a lot of respects, was vindicated because Chris Chunza, I thought, was excellent.
He was excellent.
Dafydd Jenkins looked good. Jack Morgan looked decent. Joe Hawkins looked okay. Actually, a lot of the young guys were the better players for Wales. And I mean, I love Dan Biggar, but he had a shocker.
Yeah. So I know what you're saying because they did have instances of the young players doing good things.
Well, individually, those players like Chris Chunza had a good game. He didn't do anything individually wrong.
He had a lineup which is a little bit errant, but maybe it was more.
You pick
right,
one
putting loads of pressure on Scotland's lineup.
You pick little bits, but do they make the team? Would be the question.
Yeah, but the team isn't really functioning. So, like, you'll see Jenkins say clear a ruck or make a big carry, but it's kind of largely irrelevant because. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of good players that can make an individual impact like that. But if the team's not functioning, it just doesn't really matter. It just doesn't matter. You know, it's the commentary team at the end was saying, "Oh, look at the average age of the Welsh driving maul as they were going as they were heading towards the line." I was like, "You've completely missed the point. You've completely missed the point. At the moment, they're terrible." I think they could make big strides, but it wouldn't be hard to make big strides from this nadir.
From being
I'll tell you what they should do if they want to kind of sort of freshen things up a little bit and push on. There's a very promising coach that people rave about, Wayne Pivac, Give him a go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, go on.
Could you imagine the flip-flop, the double U-turn
Wow.
before a World Cup?
The
Honestly, what do you think Gatland is thinking now? Do you think he's... he'll like the cash. He loves the cash. He's got himself a nice big deal, and he's the king of Welsh rugby now. Do you think... do you reckon there's any regret? So it's like going back to an ex, where it was all done.
Yeah, I do wonder, because it does seem right now. It seems like the only way is a continued spiral of downwards and despair for this Welsh team. Now that's obviously not the case, and I'm sure Gatland will be able to turn it around. But it's not going to be an easy fix. It's going to be a long term. But then he signed up for...
Well, I hope it's a long-term fix. They play England in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, go on, we've got to be able to beat this Welsh. If we can't beat this Welsh team playing like they are, we are done for.
Shall I try and make the argument for why Wales aren't as bad as maybe they... Well, they definitely are.
They are. After the Ireland game, my argument for them not being as bad as it looked like on paper was they got into the right position many times and weren't clinical enough. You could say that they got into it, I think, probably fewer times in this game.
Yeah, I mean, if they were good, when the momentum shifted in their favour for the last 10 minutes of the second half, and they could have walked away with a try. So Rio Dyer basically butchering that effort. He has to finish those.
Yeah.
That's
You're an international winger.
Yeah, exactly. And now the job of an international winger has always been to finish tries. We all know this. And you can make the argument to say, okay, there's less importance on that now. It's more about kick chase and being busy and your overall contribution. But it's still bloody vital. You've got one chance, get over the line.
Well, if it's an international hooker and he does everything, he's running in tries and he's putting big hits in and doing all that, but he's missing his arrows, what would you say?
Kill him.
Yeah, he's not going to be an international hooker for very long.
Throw him in a wood chipper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Make him into glue.
I do think you did downplay Scotland a little bit too much.
I've not really spoke about them yet.
You said they were competent and did a few nice things, hit their lineouts, hit their scrums.
They were good. They were really good.
Yeah.
I mean, Finn Russell makes them tick so nicely.
When he's playing like this, God, he looks so good.
He wasn't great in the first half. He was outrageously good in the second half. My goodness me, he is something else when he's on. Yeah, it's special. It's
a fair point. Other than the Hugh Jones offload was the second half. But other than the Hugh Jones line break in the first half, which was a bit of deception, bit of delay on the pass, and a beautiful line break from Hugh Jones. Yeah, I think it's probably fair. More even contest in the first half, but second half it was all Scotland.
Because they're not doing much different from Wales in terms of their shape. But then...
Yes, they are.
Okay, please continue.
Well, it's what we said before. They are Wales. You get the feeling. What I said earlier is where there is space on the field, Scotland will just go, even if they're in their own 22. Wherever on the field they are, if there is a hole, they'll just go for it. And that's what I find so refreshing about watching them. So, as I say, it seems like Wales are going, we've got our shape, let's just run through, hit contact, try and do another phase. Scotland aren't bothered about phases.
Yeah,
I mean, they will keep the ball, but they're generally not bothered. When there's a crossfield kick on, they'll go. When there's a miss pass back 20 meters to get round the edge, they'll do it. And that's what's making them and Ireland look so different to Wales and England.
Yeah. So as I was saying before, their shape is exactly the same as Wales, but they are finessing it. So you look at was it a delay pass to was it?
Tuipulotu to Hugh Jones.
Yeah, Wales could do that. But they just don't have the personnel or the nous to get it done. It's just playing different options, and it's just.
Can we talk about how good Scotland were? Because we've talked about Wales for ages, and Phil's trying to talk about how amazing Scotland are. Here's a question: How many players do you think Duhan van der Merwe has beaten in the first two rounds?
Oh,
he's got second game. The first game was huge.
First game was the first. His 2 tries probably were 7 or 8 between them. And his 2 tries in the first game, and in the second, he was a bit quieter. He beat the crossfield kick that set up the Kinghorn try. He went through Liam Williams. He had a few other nice runs, but nothing as headline grabbing in that second game as the first one. So maybe I'd say 8 in the first and 5 in the second.
Maybe.
So it's 13, 14.
He's currently beaten in 2 rounds 20 defenders.
What?
And he holds the Six Nation tournament record over 5 games, and that's 31.
So
wow!
Why don't
So he's
South Africa want this guy? Because he can still switch.
He'd have to have 3 down years before he switched.
Yeah.
So tricky.
It is tricky.
And they have got a little bit of talent on the wings,
Yeah, they have.
but
He feels very South African, though, the way he plays.
it's an amazing player to have let go. He's just so.
Kyle
so
Stain
dangerous.
seems like a pretty good player to let go.
Yeah, he's handy. He's very handy as well. Finishes 2
Yeah, I
tries
do
nicely.
actually just want to point out, because I can imagine there'll be some Scotland fans that will be frustrated when you do have there are a lot of South Africans in the side. In the case of many of them, and probably most of them, they actually are. Like Hugh Jones has a Scottish mother, I think. Kyle Stain is exactly the same.
Tuipulotu also has
Tuipulotu also
grandmother
is.
or yeah, he's definitely got.
So
Scottish
I just say
ancestry.
that their scouting network is brilliant at what they do.
I tell you who I did like for Scotland is George Turner.
Yes.
Oh, he's an absolute warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another example of like what Wales had and what what Wales had back in the day and what Scotland have.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a performance that was reminiscent of Ken Owens, 10 years ago. It was just, I thought it was just brilliant, bullish, aggressive, just everything you want from your hooker.
And Ferguson as well.
Yeah, he was
number 8,
good.
who's still only 24 as well. He's good, really good player. And it's extra good that you can leave out someone like Magnus Bradbury, who is an excellent number 8.
I was thinking about him. How do they not need him?
I always get, for some reason, I always get confused.
Richie, I get confused between, what was it, Bradbury and...
Ferguson, I get confused with.
No, is Bradbury... I think it's Bradbury. It doesn't really matter. Well, who was the guy who turned Wales over after their ridiculously poor attack? Let me see. It was Richie...
Jamie Ritchie?
Jamie Ritchie. That's
Jamie
one,
Ritchie.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie Ritchie was getting a big talking up pre-match, and he's one of those players who I was trying to liken him to an English player, and I think this is a compliment. Some people might not take it, but I think he's like a Scottish version of Chris Robshaw. He's a captain. He's quietly very, very competent, very good all round. Does a bit of everything without being like truly outstanding in any area.
Does he like illegal drinking?
Maybe. I would have no comment on that. Not in Nicola's Scotland. That surely no one is illegal drinking
Yeah, exactly right.
in Nicola's paradise.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fair comparison.
And obviously he's captain and captaining with some former captains and big personalities in that squad as well. So I think he's a great player.
I do wonder how Scotland. I mean, Scotland are basically the last hope, aren't they, to beat France? To beat Ireland.
They are.
Don't see England doing it.
I think England have got no chance.
In Dublin, not a chance.
Scotland.
Scotland could do. Now, it would be an incredibly Scottish thing. So Scotland, the next game, they go away to Paris. I could see them beating France. Genuinely.
They won in Paris last time they went.
They did. A couple of years ago. Obviously, because these games happen every 2 years. It's reverse fiction.
Thanks.
I can see them beating France. I can't really see anyone beating Ireland.
I don't know. The Irish are notoriously fickle.
There's just this incarnation of the Ireland team. Now, put them in the World Cup, it's a different story. They'll implode in the quarters. But in the Six Nations, I really, really struggle to see past an Ireland Grand Slam right now.
Interesting.
They've got to play...
Yeah, the weight of evidence does suggest it is Ireland's to lose.
They go to Rome. They're definitely winning in Rome. They then travel to Edinburgh. That's the banana skin, and then they host...
It has to be Scotland then.
It does. They host England for the Grand Slam if they beat Scotland. So Scotland, it's all on Scotland's shoulders. And it's currently, they're both 10 points. They've both got 2 bonus point wins, haven't they, in the league?
Yes.
So it could be...
Now, did you think anything about Gregor Townsend's non-celebration when Finn Russell offloaded the ball?
So I always like coaches not celebrating, because I like it's just a, it's like they've already seen it's going to happen because this is what they've drilled their players for. Therefore, it's like clapping someone for filling in their tax return correctly, or like putting the library book back on the shelf. It's just, this is what I've trained them to do. Therefore, I don't need to celebrate because they've just filled their function.
Yes.
I love that, and it's a boring answer, JB, because I know you love the drama and the tabloid, but the TV cameras and the journalists are desperate to try and create this story, and so people
this is
will
so obvious.
will fit people will fit the fit the evidence to the predetermined.
What do you mean fit the evidence?
story.
No. They'd fit the non-evidence to the predetermined story, but the evidence stacks up nicely, thank you very much. It is so obvious that he hates Finn Russell. It is so obvious. Oh, right, he just uploaded it. Like, Finn Russell making it all about himself rather than Gregor's glorious coaching. It must wind him up no end. No end.
I love this narrative as well. I think
it's true, isn't it?
I think it's so ridiculous, but I could totally believe it.
I can.
That Gregor is just, he wants all the attention to be on him for the way that he has set up this team. If only there were so many players just were less talented and could just follow his damn instructions.
Exactly, and they could win his way. Win my way, not your way.
Not with all your precocious, outrageous talent, Finn and Duan.
I think it's probably a useful point to just remind some people who may have quite short memories that Gregor Townsend was very recently someone that many Scotland fans were desperate to get rid of. And the same is true only a couple of years ago about Andy Farrell with Ireland. Just remember how fickle rugby fans can be.
Yeah, but the difference being, I'm sure Townsend has fallen out with Finn before.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure 100%.
He does not.
Oh yeah,
love
yeah.
Hogg.
No, this is not. It's not a comment on the Finn Russell thing. I mean, it's just a fun little sideshow. But no, I just mean in general, he's doing a great job, and Andy Farrell's doing an incredible job.
I wonder what Finn Russell would say about that.
Wow.
So
yeah, both of those head coaches were many fans were saying should be canned.
So I am confident in saying this now. In fact, I can definitely say it because the player in question has now moved to a different nation. So I can say whatever I want.
I know who you're going to mention.
When Scotland beat England, they drew with England in Twickenham in that all-time classic.
Yeah, the 38-all, was it?
Yeah, half-time Finn Russell said, "No, we are doing it my way. We're not interested in anything you've got to say. We've tried your stupid plan. We're gonna do it my way," and it was electric. Like, it's just, I wonder what Finn Russell would make of, your impassioned defence of Gregor Townsend, because I bet it'd be like, yeah, okay, he's done some things, but it's me that's throwing the offloads. It's me making the kicks. It's me pulling the strings.
The cross field.
Yeah, it's a fascinating dynamic when you've got such a powerful, influential and talented player as Finn Russell.
If I can be sentimental as far as Scotland goes as well, isn't it lovely that you've got the Doddy memory still very fresh and the commemoration still happening and Scotland doing really well? It's just a nice touch.
It is, and building nicely for the World Cup, Scotland.
They are.
They look good.
And they need, as I say, they need to. They're in a pool with Ireland and South Africa.
Someone is going home unhappy in that.
Just a quick reflection on the SRU at the moment. Like, again, I'm not really a massive fan of many of the unions. You have to hand it to the IRFU. They've done a marvellous job. of creating the island team which they have now, fostering that sort of culture and that sort of, not culture, but the environment where Leinster are awesome. You know, they've sort of spent their money wisely. They've done a good job.
Mm.
The SRU are sort of like a little bit nondescript in this regard. You know, they're not as strict as Ireland. They're certainly not as strict as the WRU. They seem to be very pragmatic with how they go about their business.
Mm.
They seem to have got the best out of being able to control their two regions or teams. But meanwhile, there's not really that much restraint on their players going overseas. I mean, they're quite overseas, over the border.
Mm.
They're quite happy to see big names go and pick up big cash elsewhere, and it suits them.
Yes, it does, and it works for them. It's certainly working for them at the moment, because it allows them. It's a point that you've made in the past, JB, very, very well. If Stuart Hogg goes south to Exeter Chiefs or wherever he may end up next, it allows you to bring other guys through.
Yeah.
And one of them might turn out to be a Blair Kinghorn or a Darcy Graham.
Well, and I mean, it's not exactly what these things are meant to do, I guess. It also frees you up to fill up your teams with people that you want to qualify to be Scottish.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another reason. And I don't say that like, you know,
You don't say it cynically.
Cynically, no. It's like,
it's
a good plan.
You've got to explain, particularly with if you've got limited resources. Like Scotland's player pool at every level is a fraction, like from every age grade, just playing the game to senior men's to the pro teams, is a fraction of the numbers of the big nations.
Yeah, which is why they are scouring the Premiership.
They
find every single person with any bit of Scottish heritage. So you've got all of these different strands of the SRU strategy, and it's pretty successful.
Mm. It is at the moment, and it's then how much of this is entirely because they've got half a dozen generational talents,
mm-hmm.
and it will not replicate next time when Finn Russell and Stuart Hogg and Duan and name the other generational talents retire.
I'm going to say something really ridiculous. I tend to think that the generational talent is the precursor to a more sustainable future, because I have seen generational talents in a few sports, and we'll never win after the golden generation go, and they're always wrong. So Ireland's golden generation look like amateurs now. I mean, they do, don't they? Like Henderson, O'Driscoll, O'Connell. You know, I mean, they were good, but they were not a patch on these boys.
Apart from O'Driscoll, I think he's one of the all-time best players. Although Ringrose is playing some fine rugby.
Let's just swap them. Let's see how Ringrose has got on in O'Driscoll's era. I bet it'd be pretty good.
Well, he would have been fairly handy.
Well, this is a perfect way to jump to England, because one thing that needs to happen is, purely selfishly, England need to win the World Cup later this year.
As do Wales.
But they need to. But the reason they do is because you need to have a reason to just say, Sir Clive, thanks for everything.
Oh.
Jog on, sunshine.
Please.
What, you didn't like Maggie's comment that the defence was better because they conceded less points today? Brilliant. Absolutely. I never thought of it in those terms, but now you mention it, that's brilliant.
I won't have a word said bad about ITV coverage generally, though, because I tell you what you do not get on the BBC. You do not get an advert for a movie called Cocaine Bear.
Mate, did you see...
That was the highlight of the whole afternoon today.
Did
Cocaine
you see
Bear.
the other advert on the ITV halftime show? It does tell me that maybe we are following a dying sport. It was for male urine incontinence nappies, effectively. I'm like, is this where the key demographic is it? Maybe it is a dying sport.
Well, just here's one other observation that I will make about the ITV coverage. You have world number 1 playing world number 2 on Saturday.
Mm.
The biggest game since the Rugby World Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
And ITV had Brian O'Driscoll in an industrial park in Ealing.
Doing what?
being a pundit.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
So it was O'Driscoll, it was George Gregan as well, and it was my boy Rory Best with a 3, which I thought was weird because you had obviously Benjamin Kayser in comms, but you didn't have a Frenchman in studio.
Do you know, I really loved it when Christophe... No, is it Christophe Dominici? No, it wasn't. Who the hell was a commentator? The French guy. He used to do all the BBC stuff. He used to play at Saracens.
Thomas Castagnet.
Yeah.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
So I guess my point being, it's like I totally understand you've got to cut your cloth, and actually you don't, if you don't need to spend the cash, don't bother. This was the biggest game of rugby since the Rugby World Cup final, and the biggest game that there will be until the Rugby World Cup final, short of a Grand Slam decider maybe in a couple of weeks or whatever. But and you do not have Brian O'Driscoll, George Gregan, Rory Best there in the Aviva Stadium, which I just found a bit of a disappointment. And you sparked that thought, JB, because you said about the incontinence advert, giving you an idea of where
maybe there's 2 hours to travel now.
Just on the
Regan shouldn't be doing the comms for this, by the way.
Yeah,
why?
And he's
what do you know about Ireland versus France?
Who'd you say?
Gregan.
Yeah. Well, what do you know about Ireland versus France? When's he ever played in Six Nations?
Yeah, it's not like he's this amazing outspoken pundit as well.
No,
like if he was really interesting, offering an interesting perspective, I could kind of get it. But I wanted, with 2 Irishmen, you wanted a Frenchman who's been there and done it, sat in between them.
I would get it if they drafted in Ben Darwin.
Or even even just getting Sebastian Chabot and every answer he insists on speaking in French and will not speak in English.
Perfect.
Now, just on the we're talking about Tim's BT Sport colleagues being located somewhere for the Ireland game. Did you see one of your colleagues in the crowd, Tim, when the James Lowe try was given? When Wayne Barnes blew his whistle, they had a shot to the crowd, and there was one of your colleagues. It was Doyle.
Yeah, he's a huge.
He was there celebrating in the with the proletariat.
Yeah, what's happened there, Tim?
Because you would never do that, Tim. You'd be in corporate, no doubt.
Obs. Yeah, 100%. No, well, there you go. I imagine because it was. I know that. I know that some of the camera operators and the director, I think, is someone. I think that whole team were people that work on the BT Sports. I wouldn't mind betting if someone went, yeah, get a shot of Doyle. Get us a shot of Doyle.
100%.
Also, you've got to remember, everyone around him is actually undercover security for him. He's not really a man of the people.
He's got a section of the stadium hoarded off.
Don't look at him! Don't look at him! Look at the floor when he walks past you!
With a load of security and extras who've all been screened to make sure they're allowed to be around him.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't let him pull that one.
But I will say, like the BBC coverage, John Barclay, fantastic. Sam Warburton, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Martin Johnson. It's time, Martin.
Yeah, we need another World Cup to be won by England to freshen things up.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I do always like Johnny Wilkinson, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, fine. I mean, to be honest, it's more the in-game comms. If it's going to bug me, it'll be that. Because I don't really watch the half-time analysis. I don't watch the pre-game. Usually watch it on record. If I'm drinking beforehand, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
If I'm drinking at half-time, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't bother me as much as the in-game stuff. It's the in-game stuff.
I'm now watching all half-times. Now that ITV have upped their game and Cocaine Bear adverts are on at half-time, that's it. I'm in.
Not the incontinence adverts, no?
No, not so much.
Not so much.
Cocaine Bear is where I'm at.
So England.
So Italy.
Yeah.
Or Italy, yes.
I'm really liking how Italy play rugby.
They're a good team.
Really? You thought that after today?
Yeah.
Well, the second half.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not always the same, and they make some wild decisions, which I love. I just love the stupidity of some of the stuff that they do. When they get it together, they can legitimately hurt really good teams. And England, I think, are looking like a pretty well-rounded team.
So I do like Italy. You're right, Tim. First half, Italy did, nothing.
They were garbage.
Second half, they got some lovely phases. They got several patches where they got over a dozen phases that culminated in the 2 tries. And I think they can hurt anyone. Now, this game wasn't the best for 2 reasons. One, Dollars was a bit pedantic and pernickety. More in England's favour overall, so I won't complain too much. But I thought Italy, there were some harsh penalties given against them at times. But the other reason was totally within England's control and seemed to be a preset game plan for a specific reason. Was almost every time they got attacking ball in anywhere in Italy's half, they just put a Rugby kick through.
Yeah.
Like almost every time.
I would interrupt and say there's one other thing you said England had in their control that would have made the whole spectacle better. You didn't need a Haskell halftime DJ set, but on the kicking, you're absolutely spot on.
Well, the kicking. So when they started off, first one, I think Faz puts it through. I'm like, oh, it's a bit of a waste, but okay, let's. It's early on. Let's play territory, and then it just kept on happening, and it kept on happening all game to the point where Ben Earl, one of the best broken field runners, in the second half when Italy are tiring, gets turnover ball 10 metres inside the Italy half, and this is like, right, it's on. Ben Earl, you want Ben Earl running a tired defence with turnover ball, immediate grubber kick through. It was a clear tactic. And my thoughts around it were, what was the worst thing that Italy did last weekend? They did some great stuff last weekend, but what was the worst thing?
I can answer this. Stupid tactical kicking.
Well, it was exiting their 22. And so England just made Italy exit the 22 as many times as they possibly could, which led to poor exits from Italy, which led to pushover or pick-and-go tries, with the one exception of the Arundel try, which was a bit of magic from Mitchell. So it just seemed like a clear tactic.
Do you know what you've done, Phil? You have just perfectly captured. If anyone didn't really know how Steve Borthwick is as a coach, forget about the specific tactics, forget about the specific... What you've just described, that is Steve Borthwick. He is data-driven, numbers-driven, probabilities, statistics, to the point where at Leicester Tigers, I think it even got down to the point where it's like, if we kick the ball, forget about what type of kick it is, if we kick the ball this many times a game, it increases our probability of winning by this much.
Yes.
And you're absolutely right. And the fact that, because Owen Farrell is getting a load of shit from people on the internet for he's kicking the ball away. He stayed on for 70 minutes. He was in the fly half position. If he'd have not been doing exactly what Steve Borthwick wanted him to do, he'd have had the shepherd's crook much, much sooner in the game. It was clearly what they wanted them to do. England won comfortably, so I don't have a problem with it.
Well, they got the only thing that they could have accepted from this game is a 5-point win. They got a 5-point win. Like that's Borthwick will be that. It will be that 5-point win achieved. Right, move on. And he had a game plan that allowed them to do that, and was just about as low risk as it could possibly be.
It's not going to win them. It's not going to win them any fans, but who cares?
Well,
their objective is to win games.
And winning games will win you fans. If you win a World Cup, you will win fans regardless of how you play. Now, I'm not saying England are going to win a World Cup, but just win the next game. Just go out and win the next game and win the one after that, and do it however you possibly can or need to.
So, Jack Willis, let's talk about him a second.
Yes.
He's always been a guy for me who I know is really good.
Yes.
I know he's one of the best players in the Premiership when he played there. I have no doubt he'll absolutely thrive in France. But for international colours, it's very much a coin flip because 7th shirt is Tom Curry's, and he's also pretty good.
He's very good.
These two lads who are just superb. I think today, he'll need to back it up with another performance the week after next. But if you can play with that sort of impact and influence on a game, he has to be one of the cornerstones of the England back row. And
I can see a Willis-Curry combo, yeah. Be it one of them wearing the 8 shirt or 6 and 7, but
Well, they're quite hefty boys, aren't they?
they're both. You're not giving much up in terms of size.
So they're quite hefty boys. Are they big enough to justify Ben Earl starting at 8?
Or Sam Simmons.
Yeah, and it also means Courtney is not going to be coming in at 6, but I think I can live with that.
I can live with it if Chesham plays the way he's playing.
Chesham's going to be a future England great. I am convinced.
And if Courtney gets fit, he could even put some pressure on Marrow.
Yeah,
He's still very, very good, but he's not at his best. He's not playing like he's at his best. I don't think
It was a bit more like it that first quarter of an hour. He was a
Nuisance.
menace.
Yeah. It's a good shout, Jack Willis. He's got to back it up, and I think this was obviously there's talk before the game of the fixture 2 years ago when he blew his knee out, and that was the second bad knee injury, wasn't it?
yeah.
I've got to say something else as well because I love Ben Earl, but Curry, Willis, Mercer.
That's another great one.
Ooh, Mercer.
So when Ireland play
Mercer's
England,
interesting.
I really want Don Brandt to play. I think that would be my number one choice because I think that will be enough for me to know he's not good enough for the England shirt. So let's just see him against France. Let's see him against England. Let's give him enough rope to hang himself, and then we can move on from this from this project. I thought he was going to be, again, a bit of a coin flip. Will what he does at Quinn's translate into an England shirt? I don't think it's going to, sadly, which is a shame because I think he's a really great player. But it's just not, for me, it's not working.
Now, I tend to agree. I do want to give him more time. I don't want to give him more rope to hang himself. I want to give him more time for him to get more experience for the pace of the game, get a bit more fitness, get a bit more, because he's such a unique player.
Well, that's
get
it, isn't it?
him used to the players around him, and the players around him used to him and where he pops up and the lines that he pops up.
Do you not think, though, a little bit that in the Premiership there will be teams, because they have to leave things out and they're not as well-rounded, where Don Brandt is going to be phenomenally effective.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come up against Ireland and France, who they have no real holes, unless you just physically beat them, like Ireland did to France, where is he going to be able to manufacture his space, which he thrives on? Because there will be no space.
There will be. He's got to find it, but he's got far fewer opportunities to find it. That's the problem. I think the bit that makes me believe it is two reasons. Number one, he's such a big boy.
He's huge, yeah.
He is huge. But number two, he's such an intelligent player. Like the lines that he runs and the way that he manufactures space by running those lines, I think he can do it, but I think he needs time to get used to the pace and used to the people around him. I'm not ready to write him off yet, and I hope he gets a bit more time.
Well, that's why I want him to play against Ireland and France.
Yeah,
we'll soon find out.
I could be proven totally wrong, but I just think he's so good. And if not Don Brandt, then who? Where
would be the downside with Earl?
Size.
So he's not maybe big enough, right? But let's just pretend. Let's play a thought experiment. England don't get the ball and there's no space, right? They're playing with a lack of possession. I think what Earl gives you in defence is almost as good as what he gives you in attack, and I don't think Don Brandt does that.
He doesn't. You're right. You do lose something in defence with Don Brandt.
Yeah. So you got Earl, who is a legitimate 7 at the highest level. He can play 8, or indeed Curry, whichever one fits your fancy. So, defensively they are a bit small, winning collisions and whatnot. But Earl, Curry, and Willis, that's a tasty back three.
Well, Curry and Willis.
Your jackal threat is going to be. One of the reasons that France struggled against Italy, maybe a little bit against Ireland, is because they don't have anything around the breakdown.
Well, that's
England, however.
So, I do just want to make that point actually on Jack Willis, and then Tim, I want to get your thoughts on the back row. But I thought Willis was awesome at the breakdown. I think the refereeing this weekend of the breakdown was slightly different to the refereeing last weekend of the breakdown. I don't think it was as harsh this weekend. It's like they've not stepped fully back, but they were a little bit less pedantic around supporting your body weight and a little bit more on the jackler's side with a few of the, well, was he the first man, was he the second man, did he disconnect, was he supporting his body weight? So if it's refereed like it was the previous week, you don't really need a jackling because no one's going to be doing any jackling. Unless you make a one-on-one tackle for someone with no one else around and you pop to your feet and steal the ball immediately, there will be no jackling.
That is fair.
But Tim, what would your... I know we have this debate weekly. Based on what you've seen right now, what would your dream England back row be?
Tom Curry's in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's important. Yeah, I think it's important to remember Jack Willis was selected to go on that 2018 South Africa tour, or would have been. No, he was selected and then got injured, playing for Wasps against Saracens, and that was then. He had a long road back, and then 2 years ago he got injured in the Italy game in the Six Nations. This was only his 8th cap today, and yeah, I see so much upside and a really high ceiling for him. So I'm excited to see that. I can't. Yeah, it's the balance. It's the balance. Don Brandt, I've been a massive fan of. I think the more players I see, the more I think Eddie Jones might be right on his test match animal thing. Like Max Malins, I've got him wrong. I think he is a test match animal.
Oh, he's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, he's fantastic. This remains to be seen whether Alex Don Brandt is. Having seen Caelan Doris and Ardy Surveyor doing their thing, and Gregory Aldrit as well, they're not the biggest number 8s, and so I think there is a case for potentially Ben Earl, Sam Simmons, or Zach Mercer come the summer. I think there's a genuine argument for those players. So I don't want to fall into that trap of only picking on potential. Probably Curry, Willis, Don Brandt for now. Let's see about Zach Mercer in the summer.
Just a quick one. Who wore 12?
Lawrence.
Wasn't Slade, no?
No.
I'm sure it's Lawrence.
So I
actually wore the shirt.
Yeah. I actually don't think it matters too much when you play Slade and Lawrence together. I think they complement each other so nicely. Ollie Lawrence reminds me of the player that Manu Tuolangi used to be.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout.
He looks, back to the test match animal thing. When used correctly, this kid is a game changer.
I do like this combo.
I do.
With Faz at 10. And Lawrence isn't, I don't think he's played a huge amount of 12, but he's got all the attributes to be a 12.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Slade and Lawrence, I'd swap them around, but I don't really care what you do.
Yeah.
Just have them both. And Farrell at 10, it's just refreshing, isn't it? You don't have to talk about the nonsense going on. I mean, like, Lawrence just does what he needs. He just goes forward hard, skittles people. Everything works better now. Everything. Wasn't difficult.
I do like this. I want to see more of this lineup.
Yes, and I was wrong on that as well. I'm wrong on Malins and wrong on Lawrence. Didn't think he couldn't do it. I would have preferred other people first, but it does his sheer presence does create opportunities for other people, and he's not a one-trick pony, Ollie Lawrence. He's got a bit of an all-round game. So yeah, I'm willing to see that definitely persevere. It creates a little bit of shape. Ollie Hassel-Collins, I want to see him get given more time because he is doing it's a bit like Owen Farrell. Owen Farrell's getting a load of crap because he kicked the ball a lot, which was the plan. Ollie Hassel-Collins is getting a load of crap because there isn't loads of opportunities for him, and he's just doing a big job of chasing kicks.
OHC will be absolutely fine.
He will be.
He will be. I totally agree. The areas, and I will just say, I wouldn't be surprised if George Ford leapfrogs Marcus Smith onto the England bench, as Phil has already mentioned before. Just one to keep an eye on this year, and I think the area of concern for England. There's lots of good things that I quite liked, and but Steve Borthwick is doing what Steve Borthwick did with Leicester: set piece defence, get that sorted first. And we saw the power game coming through today, and all the other stuff gets built on top of that. The concern is the front row depth is nowhere near good enough.
Yeah.
Mako and Dan Cole, and also Jack Walker, they're not at the standard required.
I do like Jack Walker, and he's on an upward trajectory. But I totally agree with your point. I totally agree.
Dan Cole is not a healthy option.
No.
I mean, he does a job. Yeah, do you know what? I think it'll be fine. Actually. Jack Walker, I think, is fine. Maka, I mean, they're not. I guess what the point is, they're not world class, are they? So last week against France, Italy started emptying their bench, and you're looking like Division 2 players. Now, Division 2 players in France on Italy's bench, right? Now, it's clearly not to that level, but your replacements matter in international test rugby. So to have a bench that is world class, it matters, because South Africa will be having one.
South Africa is the best point. If you've got if you've got weakness on your bench, or you've not got a front row who can perform in the 79th minute as well as they can in the second minute, South Africa's particular Type 5 will just take you apart.
Yeah.
And there's almost no team in the world who can live with South Africa's first choice Type 5 when their first choice Type 5 is fresh. Never mind when their bigger, stronger second choice Type 5 come off the bench when you're knackered.
Yeah, it's quite something. So look, England do have players to come back in as well. Yeah, I guess Cowan Dickey will be around for the World Cup.
Cowan Dickey, Will Stewart.
Hopefully Marler.
Marler would be an interesting one.
Marler's class.
He's available now and not being picked.
He's not been picked for a little while. I would have Marler.
Valrapava Ruskin.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But Valrapava Ruskin, it's the time to start getting him used to international rugby was about 3 years ago.
Yep.
And no one's done it. I can't see why. He's such a good scrummager. He's so dangerous in the loose, and his jackling, if the referees will allow jackling, is exceptional.
Just some.
If he was Welsh, he'd be a British and Irish Lion already.
Probably, yeah.
Very well said. Just on Italy, Brax is constantly impressing me, and still continues to do so.
Yeah,
Tommaso Allen is a really handy player.
Yeah. He's second choice filling in for Garbisi, but he's a great player.
Yeah, he's really, really impressed me. Except for they do this thing where they make loads of yards and then kick it away. I do not understand that. Like, why decide to be tactical now? You're going great and they kick it away. I just don't understand that.
And Angs Capioso.
Well, yeah. So he's obviously the cool thing at the moment, and he is cool.
He is cool.
The one I really enjoyed was Sebastian Negre.
I love him.
Annihilating
Genge.
Ellis Genge.
And forcing Genge to annihilate Kyle Sinclair.
God, that was enjoyable. That was so enjoyable to watch. I watched that 3 or 4 times.
That
He's
was.
a beast.
I mean, that, if anything, Genge was reckless, but not towards Negri for his own. He sprinted off the line and put himself in this horrible, awkward, uncomfortable. He was like half kneeling, head on hip, at full. It was an ugly.
The noise it made.
Oh, it was so. And Negri just like leans into him, shows him the hard part of his body in like a fully braced stance.
Voila, and that's French, of course.
Some Italian words.
While you're talking Italy back row, just got to mention, you'll be talking about Jack Willis and what a tough road back he's had. How good to see Jake Pelledri on an international rugby pitch again. Remarkable.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes. And
a guy.
They've got some talent. I like that young Canone, the number 8, not the lock.
Oh, Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And Lamaro, always. Yeah.
And can I just balance it out? Whilst I do have reservations about the England bench, and I'm pleased that Dan Cole's the best option we have now, but I'm just saying that option is not good enough to go deep into a World Cup. The other bench elements, Ben Earl, Alex Mitchell, are so. Alex Mitchell's the player I'm so excited about, and I also just want to mention Henry Arundel from the perspective that. Do you remember when Sam Burgess came and whatever Sam Burgess did? It would get mentioned in commentary. Like Sam Burgess just does a regulation clear out of a ruck. Oh, great clear out, Sam Burgess. Henry Arundel is exactly the same.
Well, when Sam Burgess shinned the ball into Ollie Devoto's hands, and it was the greatest shin of all time.
Now, we just mentioned Negri. I just want to bring this up because I have seen it on Twitter. The Negri hit on Farrell which was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Negri follow-up, which was a bit less brilliant, because there's definitely some freeze frames that you could find.
Contact with eye area.
Well, it's not a good look. Like there's a forearm across the face, which is one thing, and he's trying to rough him up. There is like a claw at the face with his hands. But what I really wanted to mention, that'll come out in the wash, and hopefully it's nothing, so nothing happens. What I did really, really like was the Ollie Chesham involvement in that interaction.
Yeah.
Did you see this, JB, as someone who's
Yes.
formerly
I think
formerly
Faz had him.
rolled?
Faz didn't need Chesham to do that. He had him.
Oh, yeah.
Faz was getting absolutely levelled.
Faz had him right where he wanted him, and then Ollie Chesham just kind of gently rolled him over, so Faz is on top. Is that guard?
What did he end up in? Let's have a look. So, Negri smashing people. Oh, he absolutely levels him.
Nails.
God, I enjoyed that. So, hang on a minute. So, I don't think this is all Negri. So, yes, absolutely levels him. Right. Now, the forearm is in Farrell's face naturally. I don't think that's a purposeful forearm. Farrell, as usual, acts atrociously. And that's what happens, isn't it?
But then there's the Chesham. The Chesham, like...
Now the Chesham roll is really smart.
Is
because
genius.
it's a way to get involved without actually having to get involved. So, hang on. So Negri's in full mounts. You don't want a man in full mounts.
A bigger man in full mount.
Yeah, you don't want that. But I've not got this doesn't go all the way to... Oh, here we go. Oh, I've not seen these screenshots trying to get Negri done for eye gouging. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
It was times like this that all those, as the O2 Inside Line or the England Rugby Twitter account showed the other day, this is where Farrell's 60-kilogram dumbbell presses come in handy, keeping Negri off him.
No.
He had him. He had him all day long.
So actually, Farrell ends up in guard.
Farrell did very well. Genuinely, Farrell did very well. If there was anything in the pictures that are being shown, and I think they're just still frame pictures, give Negri the benefit of the doubt. But if there is anything in them, then Owen Farrell did really well to keep his cool.
There's nothing in that. I've just watched it again. There's nothing in it.
Yeah.
So
if Farrell had done it, you'd have been saying ban him.
Yeah, but he's got a history.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
we know what he's like.
Yeah, Farrell does react. I mean, look, it's Farrell. Look, Farrell's just been physically dominated, and he doesn't like it, and that's fine. He's not meant to like it, is he? He's not meant to like it. And Negri is, it's an awkward way that the forearm falls on the head. I want Farrell to react like that because he's the bloody captain. That's how I want him to react. Anyone talking anything else is nonsense, absolute nonsense. But then once he reacts like that, Negri can't get off him because he's got to return the favour.
Yeah.
So just grow up. It's fine.
Right. So, is there anything else to mention on this week's Six Nations?
No.
So there's no.
No, I mentioned the Cocaine Bear advert, didn't I?
Yes, you did several times.
Fine, that's fine. No, that's all right then.
Did either of you see any of the under-20s?
No.
So I watched a bit because it was Friday night. No other games on. There might have been some Premiership Rugby Cup, but I'd rather watch England, Italy under-20s. Italy, they're bringing some talent through. They're genuinely bringing some talent through. England scored a couple of lovely tries. The pick of the bunch for me, it's worth watching just for this try. The Sam Harris, not the podcaster, Sam Harris, England under-20s fullback, Sam Harris, his try from about 40 metres, which was just a 9 pop to 10, 10 pop to 12, 12 pop to 13, all flat pedestrian, and then 30, so 2 metre pass.
Yeah.
13 pops to 15, who's going hell for leather on an unders angle against the grain and scorches him from 40 metres. A really, really well finished, well executed, simple try. Lovely little move. So that's worth seeing.
Very nice.
Nice.
And have you seen anything of the Rugby Europe Championship 2023?
No, I have not. Please enlighten me.
So it's little bit one-sided in the pools so far because we've got 2 pools or groups. In Group A, Georgia have hammered Germany and Netherlands.
Sounds right, about right.
And Spain have relatively comfortably beaten Germany and Netherlands. So Next week, the two best teams and the two worst teams will face off. Spain host Georgia, and Germany host Netherlands.
Portugal?
And in the Group B, it's similar with Portugal and Romania have comfortably beaten Belgium and Poland twice, or Portugal have beaten Belgium and then Poland. So the kind of key matchups, the best two and the worst two in Pool B, are playing each other next weekend as well.
Ah, interesting.
So yeah, that makes it quite an interesting little tournament. And then so they actually play next weekend, then have a break before the semis and a break before the final.
Got it.
So yeah, worth watching. And the final thing, there are Premiership games next weekend, aren't there?
Yes.
So we have Friday night, Bristol host Falcons.
Falcons.
Bristol.
Neither team.
So I've heard on the rumour mill, Pat Lam might not be long for this world if he continues to lose.
Oh, Pat Lam is going to live the rest of his days on a beach.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry, he'll be okay.
He's never going to have to work ever again.
Yeah.
And no one will want him to either, so it's a match made in heaven.
Yes, quite. He would be literally the last coach I ever employ. Ever.
Interesting. That will be an expensive... I mean, Steve Landau's got loads of cash, so...
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. You got the money. Imagine having the money and having to put up with Pat Lam. You'd never do that.
So, give me Bristol. Then we've got Gloucester host Harlequins.
Gloucester host Harlequins.
Gloucester,
Give me Gloucester.
Gloucester don't lose a huge number. Quins do lose quite a few. Give me Gloucester.
Not only do they lose quite a few, annoyingly for them, they now lose their fly half. Both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
Because one of them only came because he wasn't an international. Well,
yeah.
He was behind the other. What's his name?
Garbisi.
Is he out for the whole Six Nations, Garbisi?
Don't know.
And he's doing a great job. So
No, I think he's back. I think he's back for the next round potentially.
Mm.
I just one thing I've just suddenly realised. You were asking about the England back row. I feel incredibly harsh on Lewis Ludlam, who's been.
I thought that as we were talking,
games.
that I completely missed this guy, and he is ace.
You are both correct. Apologies, Lewis. Yeah, he should be. His performances are worthy of at least being in the conversation. He's playing
because I'm sure he listens to the podcast. I hope he hasn't turned off earlier, thinking I can't believe they didn't even mention me. And
he's a current starter. That is poor form, actually.
Hopefully, Lewis, you're hearing this right now because actually you've done nothing wrong whatsoever. And yeah, anyway, I'm glad we corrected the record before. That's the sort of thing that would have bugged me till next week.
That is a great shout to him. I don't know why we all overlooked him, but just thinking about it, in terms of balance, size, physicality, abrasiveness, all-round game, you could do a lot worse than having Ludlam, Willis and Curry all on the pitch at the same time.
Genuinely, of all of England's back row options, if you had to pick one player 3 times, Ludlam,
yeah.
or Curry would probably be the ones I'd go for.
Yeah, it would be Ludlam or Curry.
Why not Earl?
Or maybe Willis.
I'm sure Earl is exactly the same size as Ludlam.
Oh, no, he's smaller than Ludlam.
I think he's 6'2". I can look at a man and weigh him with my eyes, and I'm telling you right now.
You thought the diminutive Tom Hendrickson was
6'2".
bigger. Ben Earl is not 6'2".
Ben Earl is 6'2".
He might be listed at 6'2".
I'm taller than Ben Earl. I've stood next to him a bunch of times. He's not small. He's in ridiculously good shape, but he's not. He's 6 foot. He's 186 centimeters according to Wikipedia.
Yes, so he's probably 183 then in real life. Everyone lifts their height up, or almost every rugby player.
In studs, yeah. He's 6'1" in studs.
And he's listed as 102 kilos.
And what's a lot of them? 6'2", and he can't be much more than 105, surely.
His listed weight might be low, but I think he's 111 is his listed.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Oh, and I would say, having stood next to Lewis Ludlam, I would say Lewis Ludlam is 6'3".
Yeah, and he's listed as 6'3" as well.
Interesting.
It's like Tom Hendrickson all over again.
Massive.
The diminutive Ian Whitten next to
him. Right. Saturday fixtures in the Premiership. We've got Bath hosting London Irish. Bath West versus Bath East.
And the Irish, please.
Oh, sorry, London Irish West versus London Irish East.
Yeah. Presuming Paddy Jackson hasn't had a call up to England, give me London Irish.
London. I'll go for Bath.
Who are Bath
London Irish
losing?
East.
Ollie Lawrence now, who's been their best player. So yeah, give me London Irish East.
And the other back row player, if
Ted
he
Hill.
ever get fit, we didn't mention. No, Alfie Barbary.
Oh, he's never gonna be fit.
It's never going to happen.
I can't believe we've not mentioned Ted Hill, actually. 'Cause
Ted Hill's a great shout.
He's a destroyer of worlds.
Love Ted Hill. I've always liked Ted
So
Hill.
I'm going to go for Bath at home.
Give me London Irish. And then same time, 3 o'clock, at Franklin's Gardens. JB, your boys travel to Northampton.
Interesting.
Big few weeks for sale. Big few Premiership rounds, that is, for sale. They've got Northampton, Saracens, Exeter.
Is Johnny Hill injured?
No, I think he was just not selected. In the same way that Manu Tuilagi was just not selected.
Good. Give me Sale.
He might be available for them.
Yeah, Sale are going to have Bevan Rod. They're going to have Johnny
Manu.
Hill. Going to have Manu.
George Ford.
Ben Curry.
George Ford, yeah. No. Do you know what they're going to do? They're going to play George Ford and Ryan Mills.
Interesting.
That's what they're going to do.
With Sam James.
Yeah. Now that is dynamite.
That's a creative.
That is Mills is a big boy. Goes forward hard. I tell you now, that is if they can get him fit. I mean, it's a big if, huge if, right? Manu's going, away you go. It frees up some cash. Ryan Mills and George Ford could be the best combination in the country. God, they're good.
Get rid of Manu.
Oh, he's going, isn't
Got to
he?
get rid of Manu.
He's going.
Yeah. Has it been announced where he's gone?
No, but he is going. I don't think he can leave quick enough to free up that cash, that beautiful, delicious cash.
So we're all saying Sale?
Yep.
I think Sale.
Yep.
And then on Sunday, so this is a shame because it's during the Six Nations. So even if some of the subs get released or squad players get released, it's still not going to be full bore. Leicester Tigers host Saracens, repeat of last year's final.
Saracens for me.
Same.
Yes. Agreed.
There you go.
Wonderful.
That's it.
We're done.
Right, I'm going to go and catch a train.
Phil, go catch your train in about 4 hours.
So do I just upload... Oh, sorry, I'll talk to you about that afterwards. Right, brilliant. Well done, everybody.
Good work.
All right, let the boys play.
The end.